saying namaste instead of good morning, good evening, or anything like that. And today's pandemic times, of course, require that we say namaste and not shake hands with each other. So to come to your question, as you know, my whole life I had spent in life insurance industry. I had the honor of working with you also for a year, which was once again a beautiful experience. So after working in life insurance for many years, then in 2008, I decided to take a sabbatical. That is a brief break from the working life to write a few books, which I did write. And afterwards, then I had a question, what do I do now in life? So at that time, a very wise man told me two beautiful words. He said, know your Swadharma. Swadharma means, it doesn't mean any religion. It doesn't mean Hindu, Muslim, Christian, or any other religion. But Swadharma has a very beautiful meaning, Darshana. God has sent all of us on this earth with very typical aptitudes, skills, knowledge, likings. And to do something in tune with that is our Swadharma. So I decided that as it is whole life, I was doing a lot of consultation. Even during my corporate life, I did not believe that we should be after the results, but we should be reforming people. And therefore, I decided to become a professor, a full-time professor, a teacher. And I joined an MBA college, an institute, and there I started teaching, of course, life insurance and many other interesting subjects. But then, over a period, I developed two subjects. One subject is called life management. Today, management is teaching everything, how to manage a business. But what about managing your own life? So I designed a module consisting of about 14 to 16 modules, which deal with various topics such as emotional quotient, spiritual quotient, how to get along with everyone, social style, how to manage stress, how to achieve work-life balance. And I also designed a module on life skills. Therefore, to answer your question in one sentence, life consultant is someone who gives you suggestions, mind you my words, suggestions, how you could possibly manage your life beautifully, completely, wholly, and with a lot of joy and peace existing in your life.
Right. So anybody can consult you, my audience. Are they welcome?
Anyone, absolutely.
So on what topic? Is there any specific topic that people can contact you, or is it everything?
No,
about
anything.
Life includes
the whole
everything. It includes our relationships, it includes our work life, includes our personal health, it includes our spiritual life. So what would
absolutely.
you say?
Any aspect of life is perfectly fine.
Wow. So thank you so much. I will surely be contacting you as, you already mentioned. We worked together for a year, and I was very young then in my teens. And always, whenever I had some little questions, some little doubts, I used to ask Mr. Patil, and he used to throw a light in such a way. What I loved about him was, he used to give you directions, but not advise you. He used to let me make my own decisions. And I loved that. I loved that. So I want to ask you, what is this skill of yours? What is it that you get along with everybody? I noticed that when we worked together, there was hardly any time when, you were not right about something. I noticed that, I also noticed that, a lot of time there were many people who would tell a lot of things, but you were like, you stood firm on your ground, and when the results were out, it was like, hello, this was the thing, and Mr. Patil was telling this all along. So what is it that you get this right every single time? What's the secret?
Thank you, Darshana, for saying it. I may not get everything right all the times, but I have two simple approaches towards life. One is, I find God in every human being. Not only in human beings, but in everything that we see around us, animals, birds, plants, animate things, inanimate things. So I'm in love with life. And therefore, I love everyone. And therefore, my purpose of life is to help people as much as possible. Number two, out of all the experiences of life, I came across a few principles which I thought are absolutely universal principles. I tried to live my life according to those principles, and they were the same principles I used to suggest to my friends. For example, just to give you a small example, just as there are laws of physics, law of gravity, electromagnetism, strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, I believe that there are also laws, unseen laws of God, which govern our human life. There are a few simple laws about which we are probably not aware, and therefore majority of the problems of our life, human life, are because we are contravening those principles. To give you an example, the first law that I very strongly believe in is law of karma. I'm sure you are aware about it. You are a disciple of Sri Ravi Shankar ji. He does talk about this, and he has given several beautiful expositions about this concept. But law of karma, in my understanding, is simple. As you sow, so shall you reap. Whatever we do in life is karma. It's not only our past karma of previous life or this life, but even the present and the future. Everything is karma. So just as law of gravity is absolutely inexorable, there is no question. No one can say, no, I don't believe in law of gravity. Let me go and jump from the third floor. You will have consequences, isn't it?
Of course.
Similarly, whatever we do in life, we get the according consequences. Therefore, if we do good, and when I say do good, it's not only doing good, but feeling good, thinking good, acting good, everything good, we will get good results in our life. This I saw in my own life as well as in several hundred people that I have come across in my life. So whenever I talk to someone and they have problems, I try to analyze the reasons. I try to analyze their actions and thoughts and feelings. And if they are going against this principle, I very gently suggest to them that you change your course of law, your course of life, and you'll automatically start getting good benefits.
Correct, correct, correct. But I would say a lot of people are not even aware of their actions, what they are doing. So,
Yes,
in this condition, in this situation, what would you say?
yes. There, the second principle that I believe in life actually comes into the picture. You know, there are many religions, but all the religions, Darshana, have one golden principle, golden rule or golden law, it is called. Do unto others as you would like to be done to you.
Hmm.
It's a very simple, simply worded principle. Would you like to be insulted in life? No.
No.
Would you like to be grieved in life? No. Would you like to be deceived or betrayed in life? No. Then don't do that to others. It is as simple as that. And therefore, as I said, all the religions have this golden principle. And if we only started following this simple principle, I believe a lot of not only personal problems, but even national and international problems can be solved. Like when one country attacks another country, plunders, loots, rapes, would that country like to be done to their citizens the same thing? Of course not. And therefore, when we forget these simple principles, that's where the problems start.
Correct, correct, indeed. So also, very rightly you mentioned that, what we don't want anybody else to do to us, we don't do.
Yes.
But one more thing comes here is communication. So this
Mhm.
communication skills, it can be office, it can be uh, at home, it can be a voluntary organization where you liaise with so many people and there are differences of opinions. So what is this communication skill we should apply to uh, come to a right decision when you're making a decision jointly? What
That's
skills,
a
what do you use?
that's a very beautiful question, Darshana. Actually, again, as you see, 99% of the problems between human beings are not because of what they say to each other, but how they say to each other. The how is the most important part in our communication. In my own life's experiences, I have also seen that. They say, na, you can tell that you are such a beautiful gadha also, but in such a sweet manner that the other person will actually believe in it. So it's not what you say in life that matters, how you say. You see any problems between any relationship, husband, wife, boss, subordinate, etc., etc. तुमने ऐसा क्यों कहा? Why did you say it like that? Is the only question that is the bone of contention. Therefore, I have always followed a simple principle. Try to be as calm as possible in any given situation, even if it is a crisis, even if it is a worst situation. Because when you are calm, then the other party receives those vibrations of calmness. Number one. Number two, you can be as gentle and as sweet as possible. Your strength is not shown in this world by your voice or tone, but it is shown by your gentleness. You know, all the great people in the world, you look at their lives. Take Mahatma Gandhi, a classic example. When people used to shout, people used to scream in his presence, he was so calm, composed, and always getting the results that he was desiring. And therefore, my simple request to everyone in communications particularly is to be as gentle as possible. And if it is not possible for you to be gentle and soft at that time, simply go away for 5 minutes. When your tempers are calmed down, then you can come back. And then things become normal. This is my experience.
Yes.
Number two, many people have very strong views about life or about things in life, about the world, about politics, about religion. And many people are unnecessarily forceful. I'm sorry to say this, today's generation may not like it, but they are unnecessarily forceful. They don't have to be forceful in gestures, but they can be forceful in their thoughts, in their vibrations. So if we take care of these two things, I think many relationships can be beautifully improved.
Right. So coming, it's this question. Next question is very close to communication, but just to recap, in communication, how you say it is important.
Yes.
So very beautiful, beautiful. Thanks for sharing this. I'm sure you've told this before to me, but it's always good to, recollect and remember this. So next question, very relating to that, how do you convince somebody else? We have to convince so many people in our lives, including for
Yes.
your spouse, for anything. It could be for a holiday, it could be a big decision about buying a house, it could be small matters. It could, same thing, we have to sometimes convince our work colleagues. If there's a project
Yes.
in a voluntary organization, then we have to convince, okay. So what is this convincing skill? And how to convince people, because sometimes I notice that even if you're right, there are some people who convince others very easily, and some people, though they are right, they are not able to convince others. So what is this? How do you convince people?
Yes. That once again is a very beautiful question, Darshana. I think in convincing, there are some impediments, some obstacles. And people's two biggest obstacles I have experienced in my life are one, ego, and second, feelings. Everyone in this world has ego. In fact, some people have very strong ego, some people have mild ego, some people have medium ego. So, as far as possible, when you are trying to convince someone, you should take care of the fact that you should not be hurting that person's ego. And how do we do that? Again, by not using very strong, abusive, or very violent words, but very gentle and caring approach towards that person. You have to ensure that that person's ego is not crushed. Forget about crushing. It is not even hurt. And the second thing, that is, you should always be putting yourself into that person's position. What we call empathy in management. Putting yourself into that person's position. For example, you're talking about the decision. Your husband says that let's go for a beautiful holiday to France. But you feel that no, that same money should be invested in something. Okay?
It's other way around.
Oh, okay, it's other way around. So now the question is, who has to convince him? So once again, without hurting each other's feelings or each other's egos, you could sit together and say, okay, let's take a piece of paper and divide it into 4 parts. The pluses of going to France, the minuses of going to France, the pluses of whatever other alternative you are proposing, and the minuses of it. And let us go down and make a beautiful list of each column. By the time you come to an end of this exercise, Darshana, both of them can see a very clear answer on the paper. You don't have to convince someone. The other person also sees, yes, array, this looks to be much better option than this. And at the same time, you should keep on saying to that other person, I understand your viewpoint. I understand where are you coming from. I know how do you feel about this thing. However, may I request you that this is what I also feel? Can we put everything on the table and have this fair and absolutely sensible exchange of emotions? I believe that once again here what is required is a tremendous amount of restraint and control. And if we are doing this, I have personally done this in my life several times. As you must have also seen, when the unions used to come all very excited and in the spirit of fighting with the management and all that. If we also... So at that time, I am the manager. I have all the authority in the world. In fact, I can dismiss that guy also. He can't dismiss me. But at the time, what is the point in showing that strength in aggression? So my principle is, the more strong you are, the more gentle you will be.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, having this state, everybody might not be having that state of mind to take a paper and write it down and all.
Yes.
And, communicate effectively. And everybody might not be like, willing to go out for this short walk and then discuss, etc. So, to be in that state, I mean, I meditate every day and I do Sudarshan Kriya every single day. Without that, I cannot have my food. That's the way is my routine.
Mm-hmm.
So do
Yes.
you follow any morning routine? Do you have a routine which you would like to share? And, everybody these days are very health conscious, are conscious
Yes.
about their mind, about feelings, about meditation. What is your morning routine?
Yes, I will come to your question about the meditation. But my morning routine is very simple, Darshana. When I get up, I don't start rushing immediately. I sit on my bed for 5 minutes and do not do meditation, but I do a thankful prayer. Thankful to God or to that cosmic energy or whatever you believe in, depending on your faith. I thank that energy that my eyes opened this morning, because 20 million eyes did not open this morning on this planet every day. So I am thankful that I am alive. Then my second thanks are for all the beautiful things that God has provided me. And I specifically make a mention of all the beautiful things that He has provided to make my life all the more contented and beautiful. There is a beautiful saying, Darshana. If you get up in the morning and discover that there is a roof on your head, there is food in your fridge, you have clothes to wear, you have a job to go to, and you have relatives who love you, you are in absolute minority on this planet. Millions, billions of people don't have these things. But why do we take them for granted? We should be thankful for that. The third routine that I do is not to touch my mobile, because that is the worst way to start a day. In fact, for your information, for 1.5 hours, I don't touch my mobile after getting up.
Okay. Same thing,
Yes.
same thing in the night?
Same thing in the night. Before sleeping, for 3 hours, I do my reading. As you know, from the age of 10, I have been reading from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. in the morning. So, not to get disturbed purposely is one of the best ways of maintaining one's calm and poise. No TV, no newspapers, no mobile.
Yeah.
Have that beautiful peace that you have in the morning.
Mm.
And coming to your meditation, can you tell me, Darshana, what is your definition of meditation?
Well, Guruji, His Holiness Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, he said
Mhm.
that meditation is a skillful art of doing nothing,
Wonderful,
just
wonderful,
being with yourself. But for
wonderful.
me, I can't define meditation. I can only say that for me, meditation is bliss.
Okay, very nice. And Guruji's definition is also absolutely wonderful. For me, as you know, meditation, there are hundreds of ways of meditation. There
Yeah.
are thousands of definitions of meditations. For me, the simplest meaning of meditation is 5 no's. No thoughts, no sensations, no feelings, no memories, and no ego. Ego means that I am, the consciousness of me. The absence of these 5 things is meditation.
Beautiful.
Once again, I'll repeat it. No thoughts, no feelings, no memories, no sensations, and no I, no ego. When I lose the consciousness of all these 5 things, I become peaceful. And meditate means it's not necessarily thinking of God or anything like that. But as Guruji has rightly said, being nothing. All the time since the childhood we are born, we are continuously, this tape recorder which is sitting here in the head is continuously running. So to stop and press the pause button on those thoughts and feelings and emotions and all that nonsense is simple meditation. And as you rightly said, a time will come, in my opinion, when the whole world will start meditating, because there is no other way of getting away from this madness and this race called life.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. In fact, Guruji says,
Mm-hmm.
there is, with your emotions, you create mental pollution. And
Yes.
Sri Sri Ravi Shankar said in one talk, we had a huge satsang in our Bangalore, and he said that actually you should be charged a fine if you don't meditate, because you're creating so much pollution in the environment, If you don't
Yes.
meditate, it's like
And
pollution.
here one
You feel
practical
that
tip.
heavy energy. You can feel if you enter a room somewhere, if there's no good vibrations, you can feel it. But if you enter a place where there's a lot of bhakti happening, devotion, if there's meditation, you can immediately feel the vibration, isn't it? What do you say?
Yes. And there is one practical suggestion also here, Darshana. Many people, they actually get attracted towards meditation. They do. And then they start the practice. And then they find that it is not possible for them to be without thoughts. And then they give up too soon. So my request and my gentle suggestion to all these people would be, start in small bits. The first day, even if you are able to be without thoughts, memories, sensations, feeling, even for 3 seconds, mind you, 3 seconds, that's a great achievement.
You have given a very little time.
Even 3 seconds is enough.
Mm.
Next day again, try for 5 seconds. Next day, 10 seconds. Because life and everything in nature proceeds gradually, isn't it? You are not going to get a great success on the first day itself, or even in the first month. People have meditated for years together, years,
Yes.
decades together, but still they find it difficult. And it is the hardest thing on this planet for a human being to be thoughtless, to be feelingless, to be emotionless. So my request to these people is to do it gently and in bits and pieces every day, going on increasing it. And second thing is, don't expect something great to happen after you get up from meditation or in meditation. Many people think that they will hear some great Om sound, or they will see some flash of light, if not the God himself coming to them and talking to them, or they will be transformed into a bundle of energy, etc. No. So don't expect great, fantastic results from meditation. They come slowly, gently. That is another my gentle suggestion to people. But their lives will definitely be made more beautiful once they start meditating. They say, now there is a beautiful saying, more the things happen according to your wish. Believe that more the grace of God is descending in your life. That's a simple test. And those who start meditating, their lives definitely start becoming more peaceful, more happy, more joyful, and they're able to give that peace vibration to others. You have met Guruji so many times. Haven't you felt something extraordinarily peaceful in his presence?
Amazing. Amazing. It's inexpressible.
Yes. So what is it? And I have tremendous respect for all the saints and siddhas of this world. I have tremendous respect for Guruji also. But according to me, Guruji's greatest differentiating factor and the strength in this world is, he is the only Guru I have seen who is 24 hours smiling. There is no other Guru, there is no other Guru I have seen 24 hours smiling. Even when he is sleeping, he is smiling. He is meditating, he is smiling. He is talking, he is smiling. That is a real sign of an enlightened being, according to me.
Yes, you're right. In fact, somebody asked Guruji, what is the goal of your life? And he said, my goal is to bring a smile on every face.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
If that's his goal, of course he smiles. And coming back to, did we finish your morning routine? Because you said about, you thank God for 5 minutes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. There are two more.
After that, you meditate or you do some yoga?
No, I don't meditate. After completing my morning rituals, I do upasana. Upasana means, you know the word upasana. Upa means near. Asana means sitting. So there is a small puja ghar in my home, which according to me are the representatives of that cosmic power. So it consists of all the gods and goddesses and gurus and siddhas of all religions. Okay. So I do my upasana for 5 minutes. I do not ask God anything for myself, but only for others. I do not ask him anything for myself, but I thank him for all that what he has done. And then for rest of the 23 hours and 55 minutes, I try to live life rather than continuously sitting and doing some rituals and bhajans and artis and kirtans. No. My feeling is that God has to be approached very strongly, very powerfully, very concentratedly for a very little time. And he also expects you, he has sent you on this earth. Did he send you by choice? No. So he expects you to do something on this earth. There is a purpose of life. And then I get into what we call the hustle bustle of life and live. And in the night before sleeping, I again meditate for a few minutes.
And I know that you have shared many times with me that you read every day till late night. So thank you. Even I'm keeping you late. You are in India. I'm keeping you late. It's probably very late in India. So really thank you for being on the chat show, though it's very late. But you have read so many books. I know you read a lot of books. So which is your favorite book? What book would you recommend to the audience and to me, to the viewers?
Well, I was sort of anticipating this question. And this afternoon, I was thinking about it when I went for my walk. And out of thousands of books, Darshana, that I have read, there are many books. I can actually send you a list of 25 books that have changed my life and that have changed the lives of many people. But if I have to choose one book, it again comes down to the great Bhagavad Gita. Not for any religious reasons, because I always say, I was born as a Hindu, but I would like to die as a world citizen. I was born in India, therefore I'm proud to be an Indian, but I would like to die as a universal person. So not because it's a Hindu book or anything like that, but the philosophy and the knowledge that Bhagavad Gita contains is enough for lifetimes and lifetimes to live a very happy and contented life. So again, for the young generation, what is this? But my request to them again is read at least a few pages and then you will discover what a beautiful nectar it contains.
Right. Thank you. Bhagavad Gita, yes, I have to read. Guruji has actually conducted some live sessions on Bhagavad Gita. So yeah,
Yes, yes.
I watch them, and I try to read Bhagavad Gita as well. But you know, I don't understand much. But Guruji said, even if you don't understand, you keep reading. You know, you will get it what it is. So I read when I can, but I prefer the live sessions that Guruji gives himself. So
Yes,
thank
but
you
but
for
but
sharing that.
but for your young viewers and participants, I would request two books. One is a famous latest book called Ikigai. Ikigai is a translated. It's a Japanese word. Translated, it means the purpose of life. They have done a beautiful study on one island in Japan where majority of the people are above the age of 100. And then they said, why are they living so long? And that too very happily. Then they came out with this concept called Ikigai. Something that you love, something that you are good at doing, something that the world benefits from, and something the world pays you also for. When all these four things meet, that is Ikigai. So my request to a lot of youngsters would be to go through this small book. And the second book would be again, if you are so smart, why aren't you happy?
Nice
It's a
topic.
beautiful, it's a provocative title. If you are so smart, why aren't you happy? Even if these two books the young generation reads, I think they will have a lot of fun and a lot of benefit by reading them.
Yeah. So thank you very much for suggesting these books. I'm going to definitely get these books. But I've come across this term Ikigai.
Yes,
Seen a YouTube video and it's beautiful, it
yes,
actually divides, they ask you to take a pen and paper and divide
yes.
it into four parts of what you love doing, what you know doing. It's a beautiful exercise. So yes, please viewers, there's a YouTube video called Ikigai and it's very easy to find. Please watch that. You will find the purpose of your life, hopefully. And even after that, you have questions, then please contact Mr. Patil. He's available. He said a yes to our viewers who are here. And actually, I can't end this because I have so many questions. It's not, we are meeting after a long time, but any advice that you would like to give to the younger generation other than suggesting these books? Any advice?
As I said again, I never give advice. I only
Yes,
give a
of
very
course you
gentle
do.
suggestion. There
Suggestions.
are there are many suggestions that can be given, Darshana, but in my understanding, the biggest problem of today's life, and particularly for the young generation, is this technology. So my gentle suggestion to all the youngsters, and which I keep on giving to my MBA students also, technology, or let us talk only about the mobile phone. Forget about all other technology, because that is what is creating all the problem in the world. Technology or mobile phone is a beautiful servant, but let it not become the master. I have seen students, young children, wasting hours and hours together on their mobile phones, not reading a single book or a single page. So if you want to really beautify your life and live a complete and full life, my request would be use technology, no doubt about it, because even this is through technology. So it
Yes.
has its own uses, but only for a limited time. I personally use my mobile only for half an hour in the morning and half an hour in the evening. If you can do something like this, your life is going to be absolutely fantastic. Believe me, it's very hard to believe, I know that. But every second getting distracted is not the purpose for which God has sent us on this earth.
Correct. So just one last question. I know you have traveled a lot of countries and you have lived in many countries, but you chose to live and retire in India. I know you are not retired and you will never retire. I know that. But you chose India as where you will settle and live. So why is
Yes.
this? Why is this?
There are two simple reasons for it. There were ample opportunities to go out, to work out. But the reason why me and my family also, all the three of us decided to come back was twofold. Number one, we love our country. We believe that this country which has given us birth must be repaid back its debt. It has given us so much. So why give it to the rest of the world? Of course, we are all same and we are all God's children. That is fine. But the country where we are born must be paid back its debt. And the second reason is, I personally believe that in the next 10, 20, 30 years, India is going to be a world leader. Economically, politically, socially, financially, spiritually, philosophically, in every sense of the word. India is going to be a world leader, leading the whole world. And I would love to be a part of this process of building India and taking it to the pinnacle that it was 400 years back. But then it slipped for all the obvious reasons. But I would love to be a part of this journey. And therefore, we have come back.
Okay. So, I also find that when I go on holiday to India, and when I come back here, I feel the difference in energy and the stress levels. So I talked to my dad, and my dad said, I can feel so much difference, as soon as I get down at the airport, when I get down at Indian airport and here, I can feel the difference. And my dad shared with me that India is a land where, saints were born and so many people have meditated here. So, that energy, that vibration is different. And indeed, he's so right. I do feel the difference. So, yeah. And one last question, you're very humorous. Where did this humor nature come from? Any incident from your childhood that made you humorous, or that made a turnaround in your life? Or
Well, Darshana, there is a beautiful share. दर्द जब हद से बढ़ जाता है तो हंसी आ जाती है. When the pain becomes unbearable, we burst out smiling or laughing. That is my answer. A very mysterious, esoteric answer, but those who can understand it.
I understand. So thank you very much for your time. And I know it's very late in India, so thank you for coming over. And I look forward to connecting with you soon when I come to India. Also on thanks to technology, we'll surely be in touch soon. And thank you everybody, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us this evening. And please make sure that you like and share this video. And if you have any questions, you can send me the questions. I'll make sure I can ask Mr. Patil and come back to you with that. He is available on Facebook as well, so you can ask him personally directly as well. And if there's any feedback for the show, you're welcome to give that as well. And other than that, yes, next week's guest is Meghna. She will tell us about Sujok healing. It's a beautiful healing technique. It's a Japanese healing technique, and she's also a mudra healer. And I learned about it just a few weeks ago. And I thought my audience would love to know how to heal yourself sitting at home. There are beautiful techniques. She shows how to heal your body with seeds and some mudras. So make sure you log in next week as well. Every Sunday, 8 p.m., Reflections with Darshana. And thank you for joining, and namaste.
Namaste, Darshana. Thank you so much. God bless you all. See you very soon.
See you. Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye. Namaste.
Namaste.